Okay, hopefully we don't lose the connection again. All right, welcome everyone. If you are here live, say hi. Tell me where you're from, where you are in the world, and if you're watching this on replay, type hashtag replay. Hi everybody. Okay, so tonight is the topic is dealing with the things people say. So I've been doing this series, and I'm going to continue doing this series once a week about topics related to being childless, not by choice, at the holiday season. So first of all, you may hear barking in the background, and you may see my puppy in here jump up on my lap. So hopefully the barking doesn't get in the way of you hearing. All right, so dealing with the things that people say, it's so common when you are childless, when you're childless not by choice, for people to say things that are hurtful, triggering, inappropriate. They ask intrusive questions, but it seems like it's like even more so at the holidays. I don't know if it's because it is, you're around more people. This holiday season really can highlight or emphasize what you don't have that you want. And so the questions seem even more frequent or worse. But whatever the reason, it just is this time of year we just feel inundated with all of these comments and questions. And it can leave you feeling like there's something wrong with you. Either you feel like there's something wrong with you because you're hurting from this, or people will make you feel like there's something wrong with you because you're childless. You feel hurt, and then you feel like there's something wrong because we're like this invisible group of people with pain that others either minimize or just don't recognize at all. And so it just leaves you with the thought that, oh, there's something wrong with me because no one else understands. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? It is painful to be childless, not by choice. It is something you grieve, and none of that should be minimized. It doesn't mean you can't also enjoy life, but none of that should be minimized. So what other people think is on them, not on you. There's nothing wrong with you. Can also leave you feeling like more of an outsider, right? Because we always, or commenting our pause. Okay, hopefully we're back and stay connected. The first question, most common, is, do you have children? Now, we all differ on how we feel about that. Some people feel like it is triggering and it's wrong to ask. Others feel like you can ask that, it's a common question, but I don't care about that. Personally, when I'm asked that, I think to myself, first of all, this is a society issue that you think that a woman's worth is whether or not she has children or whether or not she has a partner. Women are judged by fertility and relationship status as if that is only based on that and their relationship status. But also the second thing that goes through my mind is, wow, you don't really have much of an imagination or curiosity that you can't think of anything else to talk about, that is how you're judging me. So the question itself, I just think it says much more about that person in society. But where I do get annoyed is their reaction. You can see the pity, they become uncomfortable because, oh, you're supposed to have children. Like they're uncomfortable by you not having children. Or sometimes because I'll respond with, my children have 4 legs and a tail, and that really bothers some people. So the reactions can vary from pity to discomfort to anger. And I used to let that bother me. I used to feel like it was my responsibility to make them comfortable, to pull them out of their discomfort. And I finally learned, no, it's on them. It's not my responsibility. It's not your responsibility to make them less uncomfortable. So what I do now is I'll answer no, and then when they become uncomfortable, we're trying to reconnect here. Okay. If they pity me, I say to them, I don't need your pity. There's no pity here. This isn't what I planned, but I have a wonderful life. Now, if you're in the group who doesn't like people asking that, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that either way, it's okay to say to them, like respond with, why do you ask? And then change the subject. The problem with any of that is that if you are not used to doing that, you can freeze and not be able to go down that path of responding. But I'm going to talk about that shortly, the strategies for dealing with that. So when there's no way other than to predict that at some point someone will ask you, do you have children? There's really no way to predict all of the hurtful things people will say or the intrusive questions. Every time I think I've heard it all, I prove myself wrong, and someone says something that I'm like, seriously, I cannot believe they're saying that. Never expected that. So you can't plan ahead to have an answer to everything someone's going to say, but you can plan ahead with general responses that will answer in a way that stops them for the most part, and is respectful. So what do I mean by that? Well, you can say things like, that's personal. Most people, when you say that, will get, oh, they don't want to talk about this. Now, there will be the occasional who, like, it goes like this and they're going to keep pressing. It's okay to say, that's not okay to say. It's not okay to ask. Or I don't want to speak about that. All of those are general responses that it may not give them the answer they want, but it does answer their question. It does respond to hurtful comments. And if you're someone who can say, that's not your business, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is most of us feel like we're the ones being rude. If you're only responsible for yourself, what you think, and how you react. Don't take on their being offended if you are respectfully answering. And those are respectful answers, okay? But because we're not used to this, we often freeze, okay? So that's where these strategies come in. The first is come up with some general responses that you feel comfortable with, that feel aligned with you, your personality, that feel respectful to you. So you can use my examples. That's personal. It's not okay to ask. It's not okay to say, I don't care to talk about that. You can use those. You can come up with your own. You can use those and change the wording so it fits with you and your values. I would come up with 2 to 3 of those and write them down. The next step is to come up with 2 to 4, generally I go prepared with 3 to 4 topics of conversation that you want to talk about, that you can now steer the conversation to after you've responded, and it moves them away from your fertility status, your relationship status, and it moves them to a topic you can join in on that everyone will feel included on. So maybe it's, hey, I saw this movie the other night. Here's what I liked about it. Or I'm reading this great book. Or I'm planning this trip. Do you know anything about, where I'm going? Or I just went on a trip. Whatever it is, plan ahead, write down 3 to 4 topics of conversation that you can turn to and turn away from your fertility status being the topic of conversation. The next step is to visualize. Visualize, close your eyes and visualize every little step leading up to you responding and you changing the topic of conversation. So you walk in the door, if you know you're going someplace, you know where you're going, you picture yourself walking in the door, walking up to the group of people, walking up to having Aunt Libby come over to talk to you and make her inappropriate comments. Every step, and then picture yourself responding calmly and changing the topic of conversation. Why visualize? Well, there's a reason why professional athletes do this. There's a reason why Olympic athletes do this, and that is because it is effective. So really visualize taking all of those steps. When someone says something hurtful, take a breath, because that will calm yourself down. Respond calmly, and then change the topic of conversation. The next part of that is after you've visualized and you feel comfortable with that, now practice. Practice, practice, practice. Stand in front of a mirror and respond. Use the responses that you've come up with. Respond and then politely change the topic of conversation. And keep practicing, because in the moment when it happens, we're triggered, we tend to not be able to think through what you want to say. But if you have practiced, if you've imagined this and put yourself in that situation where you're feeling that trigger and you practice the response so that it becomes second nature, excuse me, you will feel able to just automatically, politely, and calmly respond to them. And again, then move on and have a conversation about something that you can join in on. So practicing is very effective at getting past that triggering response where in that freezing response where you can't think. Right? It just becomes automatic. And then the last strategy is to have an ally if possible. It's not always possible. But if you know you're going to something and you know your cousin's going with a good friend or they're going to be there and you know they are trustworthy and will support you, tell them what's going on. Sorry, there's a lot of barking in the background. Tell them what's going on. Like, these are the things like that hurt me. And this is what I'm planning to say in response and do. Can you support me? Can you help me change the topic of conversation? When I say to them, hey, that's personal, join in and, say to them, yeah, that's personal. You shouldn't be asking that. If you have an ally, plan ahead for that and let them know. All right, so I want to recap. First of all, it's okay to respond politely to the impolite and intrusive comments and questions. If they take offense, it's not on you. I would start with have 3 to 4 or 2 to 4 general responses planned ahead that you feel comfortable with. It's personal. I don't want to talk about it. Whatever it is, put it in your own words and have that ready. Have 3 to 4 topics of conversation that you can change the topic of conversation to, instead of it being about you being childless or without a husband or a partner. Then visualize yourself there every step. Visualize yourself doing that, and then practice so it becomes second nature. And if you have someone who can be an ally, who will support you, who will, if nothing else, if they can't speak up for you, at least if they can be by your side, then that's great. But I know that's not always possible. All right. I hope that was helpful for you. I'd love to get feedback. So put comments in, send me messages. If there's a particular topic you want me to talk about related to childlessness and the holiday season, let me know. And next week we're going to be talking about planning your own thing, because everybody's expectations, everyone has expectations of you, what you should do for the holidays. The only expectation should be that you do what feels right for you and feels authentic to you. But sometimes that can be difficult. So we're going to talk about planning your own thing next week. Again, I'm going to continue these lives weekly through at the same time through December 26th, as long as the connection works. All right, I hope you guys have a great evening or whatever time it is, wherever you are, and I'll see you next week. Bye.